What is happening, all of you sexy warriors out there? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a company, a brand, a movement, some may say, that is known for their accuracy and their cult-like following. That is going to be LaRue. More specifically, we're going to be talking about this rifle right here. This is the LaRue LT-15 16-inch 5.56 gun. We're going to be talking about the accuracy, the initial impressions, and then we're also going to go over the setup and why I have it kitted out this way. Let's get into it. All right, guys, thank you so much for stopping by the channel. Before we dive into the details and the accuracy, my first impressions and how this thing is set up, we first have to cover our full disclosures. So for full disclosure, LaRue did end up sending me this rifle as well as the scope mount and the bipod mount and the bipod. Funny enough, I hadn't heard or seen much about this rifle, although I have some self-proclaimed LaRue fanboys in my circle. So although this rifle was sent to me, as always, I'm gonna give you my honest feedback and my first impressions, and also just let the performance speak for itself. So before we dive into the details, I do have to also take a moment and thank the biggest sponsor of the channel, which is Brownells, guys. If you want to support the channel, there's a ton of links over at rangedaybro.com. You can find our merch, all of our affiliate codes, all of our links over there on the discounts page. So there's a bunch of websites actually we recently brought on. So you might be surprised by some of the names over there: Primary Arms, Peace of Mind Guns, pretty much anybody you could imagine shopping with on the internet today. I have links and codes. So if you do want to support the channel and you need something, don't buy anything you don't need, but if you're gonna buy it anyways, please use my code. I really appreciate it, guys. Also, we have a Patreon, and a free way to support the channel is just liking, commenting, subscribing. So thank you to everyone who engages with the videos. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's talk about my first impressions. So when I pulled this rifle out of the box and just felt it in my hands, the first thing I thought was, wow, Mark LaRue is a man who takes pride in his rifles. How much pride, you ask? Well, his name is on this rifle no less than 15 times. I'm dead serious. That's not a joke. But honestly, after handling it, shooting it, grouping with it, I could see why he's proud of it, and honestly, it didn't give me a lot of things to really complain about, as you'll see as we go through this review. Now, we'll save my complaints for the end of the video, but for now, let's talk about the good stuff, which is certainly the accuracy I got. So LaRue is really well known for having very accurate guns, and this guy is no exception. Today, we grouped this with 4 different ammo types, and with one specific ammo type, we were able to get sub-inch MOA accuracy. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to acquire the Sierra Gold Medal Match King 77 grain boat tail hollow point that LaRue recommended I use to group this guy with. It's just really hard to find. It's kind of the industry standard, but I was able to get really good groups with the Norma 77 grain match ammunition. So I'm gonna set this guy aside for right now, and we're gonna bust out the handy dandy cardboard targets, if you guys can see this. So I'm gonna do my best to show you this on camera. So this guy right here is with the 77 grain AAC ammo. Did not do too great right there, so we'll skip right past that. This group right here was the first sub-inch group. So let me get my calipers out. So everybody can see the calipers are calibrated. They're at 0 right now. So let's get this guy. I might have to do this off camera and then show you on camera. Let me just see. So right there's the widest spread. Center to center, we're just under an inch. I hope you guys can see that on camera, but that's using the caliber center to center. That is the 77 grain Norma match ammunition. Then we came up here and shot Black Hills, so pretty widespread with the Black Hills. I'm not even gonna measure that. Pretty terrible performance out of the Black Hills, and that has been consistent with everything I've been seeing out of the Black Hills lately, so not a huge fan of Black Hills. I would never buy that stuff again. This was actually my last group right here. This is a buddy of mine, that LaRue fanboy I mentioned. This is actually his hand load 77 grain with Sierra bullets. So he expected it to do better than it did. And I very well may have thrown that first one, but it was a pretty wide spread to begin with. So once I saw these results and I saw how well the Norma did, I loaded up 20 more rounds and I did 2 more 10-round groups. I forgot to mention, these are 10-round groups. So this guy was the second 10-round group I did with the Norma after we shot those hand loads. And this guy was quite a bit wider than the first one. Center to center, we're looking at about 1.2 inches there. And then this guy came in and I was able to shoot this guy, which ended up being the tightest group of them all. That's right about at 0.8 inches right there. So that is the widest spread right there, and it's right at 0.8 inches. So 100% sub-inch accuracy with a 10-round group. I cannot stress this enough, guys. A lot of guys will get on the internet and boast sub-MOA accuracy with 3 rounds or even 5 rounds. I used to shoot a lot of 5-round groups. For 10 rounds, to be 0.8 MOA at 100 yards is pretty darn great. So the stealth barrel is definitely one of the biggest selling points on this rifle for sure. And LaRue, like I said, is very well known for their accuracy. Well, another thing they're well known for is their secrecy. there's really not that much information out there on what kind of materials or coatings go into these rifles. So with that being said, I will use my best judgment based off of my previous knowledge of other firearms I've built, basically using common sense of seeing what I can see, and tell you what I believe these materials are made out of and what the coatings are. So I threw a bore snake down this barrel. It does appear to be a stainless steel barrel. My guess would be a 416R stainless steel barrel. And based off the accuracy results we got, I would say that's probably pretty likely. It also seems to be a black nitride finish on the outside. Again, there's really no information on this on the internet. In fact, this barrel's actually stamped with a fictional steel type called Reardon Steel, which if you Google it, the first result is like fictional company from this movie. Again, you can look it up, Reardon Steel. As far as the barrel profile goes, it looks like a medium weight profile. It's not super duper thick, but it's definitely on the thicker side. But it also has a little bit of a taper down in front of the gas block, which is nice. So it leads to a really nice balance of the rifle. The gas block is LaRue's low profile gas block, and it actually has 3 set screws in the bottom that corresponds with 3 divots in the bottom of the barrel. A pretty bomb-proof installation if you ask me. It's got 3 set screws, they're all dimpled, and it also has a very long contact surface. It's much longer than most other low profile gas blocks out there on the market. So it's got a ton of contact with the barrel and 3 set screws holding it in place. So I have no doubt that it's a very durable installation of the gas block. Now covering that gas block is the M-LOK version of the LaRue rail that made them massively popular during the GWAT era. These rails will fit any mil-spec upper as far as I know. A lot of what LaRue has done in the past has been proprietary. This one is not, and they brought it to the market with the industry standard M-LOK handguard, which is very nice. Has M-LOK all the way around, every single angle. It also has some nice lightning cuts up here in the top of the rail just to lighten it up a little bit, and 2 QD cups in the back here, which seem to be steel reinforced and anti-rotation, but I haven't confirmed that yet. Now, before we get into the upper, the BCG, the rest of the rifle, let's first talk about some of the attachments that are attached to the upper and the handguard here. So you could probably tell the LaRue bipod mount over here, they also did send this out, as I mentioned. It's got a QD with a Harris bipod hooked up to it. It's a pretty great, really solid mount, I will say that. Really nothing fancy about it. It's just pretty standard, well made, just like most of the LaRue products. We also have the LaRue scope mount up here. I actually really enjoy this scope mount. Installing it was super easy. You actually torqued down, you just snug up all the screws, then you torque down the bottom screws first to 30 inch-pounds, and then you torque down the top screws afterwards. This makes it very easy, very simple to install, and I could definitely appreciate that because mounting scopes is enough of a pain in the ass, so it makes it a little bit easier when you're mounting it up. Now, as far as the QD levers, they work great. They're very easy to adjust. They're toolless adjustments, so you just turn them with your fingers in or out, depending on if you need more tension or less tension. And this guy also has a locking mechanism on the scope mount over here. Now, the receiver set is a billet receiver set, so it matches up very well. It is an extremely tight matchup. In fact, when you pop these pins out, you kind of gotta pull almost like there's a suction. These guys fit in really snugly together, which again, I think leads to that accuracy that we saw out of this rifle. And sitting inside that receiver set is the BCG. So there's not a ton of information out there on the BCG, what sets it apart. I do know that it retails for around $300, which is a pretty high price tag, but I'm not saying it's not worth it. I just don't know what all goes into it to kind of justify that price tag. What I can say during this initial impressions review, we had 0 issues with it. And just from looking at it, handling it, feeling it, taking it apart, putting it back together, I can tell you it's a very well-made BCG. I don't know what materials went into it or what coatings are on it. We haven't shot enough to determine whether it's gonna last and stand the test of time, but just from handling it today and just from the reputation Mark LaRue has, I have no doubt it's gonna continue well on into the future. Now, another thing I'll mention is that everything that you see on this rifle, besides the Harris bipod and the scope mount and this guy right here, is made in-house by LaRue. So they have injection molding, they make their own pistol grips, they make this rat stock in-house, they make everything in-house, which is a huge asset when you're considering quality control, being able to monitor and ensure everything is made to your specs. They're not importing any of these parts, they're not getting it from suppliers. They're doing it all in-house, which I have a big appreciation for right here in Leander, Texas. So that's a cool little fact about LaRue I didn't know before I talked to them, including their trigger. This one is the curved trigger. It is their 2-stage. It is actually a really good trigger. I had the ability to get intimate with this trigger during all those grouping sessions that we did, and I shot it to range with some buddies off camera as well. This trigger is absolutely phenomenal. I had very little trigger time with one of these LaRue triggers in the past, just on buddies builds, a couple rounds here, a couple rounds there. Really not enough time to get intimately familiar with this trigger, and today I did have that ability doing all those different 10-round groups and shooting it out the distance a little bit. So I gotta say, I really am a big fan of this trigger. I looked it up, it's like 115 bucks in Primary Arms right now, using the link over at BrangeDayBro.com on the discounts page. You can pick it up and support the channel at the same time. But with that being said, I think that LaRue did make me a believer in these triggers. Previously, I've been a huge Geisley fanboy. I mean, I still am. I love Geisley, but you usually have to wait for those triggers to go on sale, which happens pretty often, or use my discount code over on Brownells, and you can get it down to around the same price as this trigger, but these guys are always on sale for a really good price. I gotta say, I'm a believer in it. It feels as good as the rest of them. It doesn't get any better, it just gets different. I will say that. That's the best way to put it. Just like Texas barbecue, right? With the majority of my rounds being fired in the prone while I was grouping, I didn't really get a good feel for the balance or the swinging it around, running and gunning with it, or the recoil impulse. What I will say is that this thing is combat gassed, but I would say it's gassed pretty conservatively for a combat rifle. So it was ejecting. All my brass was pretty much in one pile besides one load, which I'll have to review the footage to see which one it was. It was a little bit more like 3 o'clock. It was hitting my spotting scope, but for the most part, it was all in a very neat pile right in between 3 and 4 o'clock, right where you want it. We are obviously shooting it unsuppressed today. I wanted to pull it out of the box and group it as it came. So overall, it had a good recoil impulse and a good ejection pattern. So another positive, another win in my book. So now that we've talked about what I like about this gun, obviously the accuracy, the fit and finish is phenomenal. The trigger, it just feels like a very well-made rifle. Let's talk about a few things that I don't love. And I think a lot of this more so has to do with preference, but let's just get into it. A lot of these are nitpicks because it's a really well-made rifle and it's performed flawlessly so far. So these are a bit nitpicky. So just keep that in mind. All right, so first and foremost, I do not love all the loud branding on this rifle, especially when it's blacked out. That's one thing, like on the stock and what so, but up here on the handguard, when it's all in white, I know it's very small, but it's just, they're everywhere and there's a lot of it. And I would just get rid of a couple of those. That just, I don't love the branding. I could always paint over it obviously, or use a Sharpie or something. But the second thing I don't love is the stock is just has a little bit more play than I would like for like a precision type, 16-inch gun that's known for its accuracy. Just got a little bit more slop and play in it than I would like. But again, a little bit of a nitpicky thing. I actually really like how easy it is to adjust. I also don't like the pistol grip that much. It's great for proned out, like what I did today. It feels great for laying in the prone precision type work. I would like something with more of a grip angle, but that's a very cheap change out. It's very easy to swap that out, so no big deal there whatsoever. And I want to be clear, it feels good, but I just don't like the grip angle. Again, it's a preference thing. Now, one thing I will actually kind of knock this rifle for, because although it's a really good value for the money, this thing I think is retailing for like $2,000, which I think is a pretty darn good deal. And if these changes were made to kind of upgrade this, I would say it's a phenomenal deal. But this thing does not have any ambi controls, like whatsoever. It's 2025. Every rifle should come with an ambidextrous safety selector and charging handle. That's just my opinion. I mean, this isn't even like, it doesn't have an oversized latch or anything. So it's actually, with my scope, with the optic of choice I have on here, it's a little bit tough to get to this really small latch on this mil-spec charging handle. You don't need to have an ambidextrous bolt release and bolt hold back, but safety selector and charging handle I feel like should be a pretty standard item in 2025. So that's really my biggest knock on this rifle. Other than that, I mean, it's a freaking solid build. You can just tell its quality when you pick it up. Fit and finish is phenomenal. It grouped lights out with that Norma 77 grain ammunition. And we will come back to you guys when we have more rounds on this rifle, when we've taken out the further distances, so we can give you a full follow-up review on how this thing is holding up over time. So to wrap this video up and give you my summary, I suppose, what do I think about this rifle? I think it's pretty badass, especially for coming in at the price point. I wish LaRue would put out more information on the materials that they use in their rifles. I don't know what the secrecy is about, but overall, it functioned exactly as advertised. I was able to shoot multiple sub MOA groups. Feels great. The rail is super solid. Feels great in the hand. You can just tell a lot of time, a lot of dedication went into this thing. Not enough rounds to really kind of draw my final conclusion, but I will say I'm very excited about this thing now that I've had a chance to shoot it. I'm really excited to suppress it, and I'm actually getting more and more interested in different barrel lengths of this thing. I know they make a 12.5 or a 12-inch actually, which is kind of the perfect barrel length between the 11.5 and 12.5. A guy like me, been doing a lot of 11.5, 12.5 discussions, so maybe the 12-inch is the answer. Overall, first impressions, I like it. I like it a lot. Can't wait to put more rounds on it, put a suppressor on it. Even though I've had really close friends in my circle who I shoot with regularly, who are really good shooters, keep mentioning LaRue to me and how much they love their LaRue builds. This is my first time really getting to know one and getting to use one. And I gotta say, I think it lives up to the hype, especially for the money. Now, the last thing I wanna talk about before we wrap it up is this optic right here. This Steiner, this is the Steiner T6XI, and I absolutely love this thing. So for full disclosure, Steiner did send this out to me, so big shout out to them for supporting the channel. I gotta give the glass credit on those groups today, because I was looking through this thing for a very long time, and the image is absolutely phenomenal through this optic. Again, it is not a cheap optic. It costs more than the gun. MSRP is $2,500. So keep that in mind. Obviously, there's cheaper options up there that'll get you 90% of the way there, like Arkin, RDB10 over there at Arkin. But again, just having high quality glass, there's really no substitution for it. It really does help if you want a precision build, something that's gonna really be a tack driver. The glass really helps. It's got these really cool locking turrets on the top, so it's like a rotation. But I found out today it's a little bit annoying, but it's also cool. So when it's already unlocked and you think you're trying to unlock it, you'll accidentally dial a little bit. I know it sounds like a stupid thing. There are windows on it so you can see if it's locked or unlocked. But overall, a big fan of this scope. The glass quality is phenomenal. Definitely not daylight bright illumination, but it has illumination, which is pretty cool. Parallax adjustment, all that good stuff. I got to give a shout out to Steiner for sending this thing out. It's a phenomenal piece of glass, and I'm looking forward to continuing to use it on this build moving forward. All right, guys, thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. If you guys enjoy this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys do want to support the channel, head on over to rangedabro.com. You can check out our discounts page, which has all of our affiliate links and our codes right there. So if you click on any of those, it will support the channel. So thank you guys for going over there and doing that. Also, while you're there, make sure you subscribe to our email list. Check me out on Rumble and X just so I can diversify a little bit and make sure that if big tech decides to censor me one day, I can still reach you guys. And also look out for the loadouts page on the website. We're gonna have this guy up there soon. Once I get it kitted out with a few more items, maybe a suppressor, maybe a light, something like that. We're gonna put it up on the loadouts page. That gives you all the links to the items that I have on each loadout for all the reviews that I do. And lastly, guys, if you want to join the Patreon, I would greatly appreciate it. It'll get you early access to content, direct line of access to me, shout outs and videos. Thank you so much for staying to the end of the video, guys. That's gonna wrap it up for today. Until next time, Christ is King. Stay safe, stay dangerous. Range Day Bro, out.